Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, the station that leaves no listener behind, home to the Asian Oprah. Number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, TE Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Well, I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip here, no scandal, no K words, no Kanye talk before, now, or in the future. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So there's topics and guests and co-hosts and series. And let me take a breath. It's been today 653 consecutive weeks. It marks the beginning of that. Which is, if you're doing the math, over, I think we're at 12 and a half years now. And I'm so grateful, so grateful that this is continuing to be a place where I get to wake up and jump into my studio, and I think this is hashtag COVID silver lining, so that I don't have to drive out to the IE or drive to Sunset Gower that I used to do on a weekly basis, let alone now I've been the morning show host producer since, right after COVID. Actually, when COVID first started is when Fred called me, the owner of KCAA from Texas, and said, how would you like to take over the morning show? And automatically I said yes, because I like that word. And it wasn't until about 7 days in when I realized that 7 days a week, 5 shows a week is a little bit different than one show a week. But, I love a challenge, and we adjusted. And now we're here now. I would say 2020 in May or June is when I started every single day. And so that's been 4 years of every single day, which adds up to 1,261 podcast shows. But who's counting? And I'm so grateful that Monday is when we convene. I'd like to start your week in the most positive way with hashtag Mental Health Matters Mondays. And that's the series that I've been doing now, so that you can take responsibility for your own mental health and try to learn some tips and tools and tricks left over from Halloween, so that you can remain mental health balanced, especially, and here's the topic for today, during this election tomorrow. We go to the voting polls, or if you voted ahead of time, I like the actual process of getting in line, meeting people in the community, being grateful for my ability to express my freedom of thought and vote to make this country what I want it to be, the best that it can be. So that's what we're talking about today. So glad that you're here. Please feel free, not while you're driving. If you're tuned into the AM FM side, you are listening, and I appreciate that, but please do not comment. But when you land, wherever you are, go to my YouTube TV channel, which houses all of my 1,260 podcast shows. And today it's the 61st. And that way you can type in your answers. And what we're doing now is breakfast with me. So, breakfast with me constitutes taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. What does that mean? Top of the bun, things that you're grateful for outside of yourself. Bottom of the bun, things that you're grateful for inside of yourself. In other words, I call it appreciation. So, what do you appreciate about yourself? I have you do this now as a model for when, right before you go to bed. If you do the bottom of the bun, you sandwich your whole day in the most positive way, and that bottom will let you sleep better, because instead of thinking about all the things that have gone wrong, who done who wrong, who said something horrible to you, what you're saying horrible to yourself is replaced by, what do I like about myself? So that's taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. I did not give the let's see, here we go, on live now story, so that you could join me this morning. For those of you who need that reminder, I'm going to put that as a, there we go, story. It's just in time. It's so funny. I was like, there's someone screaming outside, but it's actually, it was me screaming in the story. I love my life. All right. I am grateful for the fact that those who had an opinion about this show at the beginning, where I said I'm not going to talk about anything that everybody else is talking about. So whatever is bleeding and leading right now, whether it's horrific weather or crime or tragedy, we're not talking about that. Not because it's not important, but because you can get it from everywhere else, but you don't get the balance or the good news, or things that actually matter to you, that you can affect, your mental health, your knowledge, your education, your solutions to the things that are being fed to you by producers who want you to go, oh my God, what's wrong with people? Or that's, is the world going to heck in the handbasket? Instead of those reactions, I want you to go, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, that is something I can do to make a difference with homelessness, or women's rights, or crime, or whatever those opportunities for improvement are. So that's my first gratitude, that they were wrong. I did last more than a year. We are 12 and a half years now. So there, I am grateful that I found this fabulous new jacket. And Judith March, I think, is her design. I'm going to go look her up. I am grateful that my extremely busy month of October, which is always that way, chock full with, I think I put 925 miles on my car, going to Newport Beach Film Festival, Catalina Jazz Festival. No, I did not drive over to Catalina Island, but clients in the IE, the show. I got to, this is another gratitude, be the MC of Heaven and Earth Oasis fundraiser for the veterans. And I'm grateful for all of the fabulous activities that I got to participate in. I went to Canada in October. I taught a class at UCLA in October. So for all those things, I'm grateful. And I'm glad that November is a relatively balancing out, easier month in terms of I'm not running or driving myself crazy with probably burning too many candles at too many ends. I am grateful for the election that is tomorrow. I'm grateful that we live in a country that we can actually put our vote where our opinion is. And I have made it a no politics, no religion talk zone on this show for the very reason that I don't want to alienate people with my own BS belief systems, even though I really am tempted to. I did make that, it's not a mistake, but I did foray into that area by making a comment years ago about the locker room. And I was told that I lost 35,000 listeners, which I'm not about numbers, and it's certainly, I insist that you can. There's many ways to see life. There's many. I don't have the answer. I have one particular way of looking at the world that works for me, and those who have tuned in or followers or supporters, they're the ones that have benefited. And there's so many other places to tune in. I don't want to take that to you. But if I alienate those who don't believe in my politics, then I am minimizing my ability to talk about hope and happiness and to do my mission, which is my Happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years, regardless of your politics. So that's why we don't talk about it. I do, however, want to address the anxiety that I have heard and read that is affecting so many people right now, because politics is such a passionate topic that families are being torn apart, friendships are being lost, our ability to agree to disagree has been impacted. And so today, for Mental Health Monday Matters, I thought we would talk about strategies, tips, tools, tricks on how to minimize and reduce your level of stress, particularly today and tomorrow. So that's what we're talking about. The bottom of the bun to finish breakfast. What do you like about yourself? And the reason why I talk about this is the good news is we are talking about mental health. The bad news is many people are reaching to substances outside of themselves to ease their dis-ease with themselves, to feel better. And that's a temporary mask or temporary Band-Aid. And what happens sometimes if you don't clean the wound, if you put a Band-Aid on it, infections get worse because there's no light, there's no air to help with the healing. And so what I want to do is give you again a chance to soothe yourself, work that muscle of self-love, self-care, which is, I believe, the foundation of good mental health. If you can approve of yourself, if you can like yourself, if you can soothe yourself, then you have a more than fighting chance to have great mental health. And that's why we do this exercise. It is the most difficult part of the exercise for some of my co-hosts, as well as some of my guests, because it's not easy to talk about yourself. It's not talk good about yourself. It's not easy to toot your own horn. It's not easy to feel good about yourself and be open about it, because we're taught not to toot your own horn. You're not all that. You're not as good as you think you are. You're not, you're not God's gift to men or women. And I agree with that, because nobody is all that. However, I do believe that there's room to be proud of yourself, to say and believe that you are more than good enough, that you are worthy, that you're loving, lovable, and loved, and wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness. So that's why I asked you specifically, what do you like about yourself? And I'll finish the bottom of the bun by saying I appreciate my ability to make people laugh. In fact, I wrote my first comedy sketch this morning. I was woken up thanks to daylight whatever savings. I thought every year I think it's not going to happen because they say this is the last year, but I guess somebody changed their mind again. But the good news is I had more time to actually be inspired to write my first sketch. I sat with a wonderful woman who that's her job, and hopefully I my memory's great, my recall sucks, and I don't know where I put her card, so I'm gonna have to follow up. I know she's a neighbor of Valerie Heath's, who ran the fabulous event on Saturday, to get a hold of her, and we're going to get together. She wants to start a podcast. I've had this idea of stand-up comedy in my head for a year now, so I'm going to do something about it. I'll let you know where I'm going to try all this out. But I appreciate my ability to be funny and make people laugh and make myself laugh first and foremost. And some of you will I had someone actually say to me, but of course you're funny. Of course you could do comedy. But I actually was married to a man who told me every other day that I was not funny. And my husband, who knows why he said that? It doesn't matter. But my husband was wrong. And the best thing about divorce is owning my funny. So I'm going to own my funny in a huge way and step out into the stand-up comedy world very soon. And I appreciate my ability to follow my impulses and inspirations, and that I live with the adage, don't die wondering. If there's something that you'd like to do, try it. Who knows? You might be good at it. I appreciate my ability to poo-poo the expression, jack of all trades, master of none. That's bullshitake. You can be good at many things in life. And whoever said to us that we can only do one thing, and even if you don't like doing it, you have to keep doing it, because that's how you make your money. And that's the most important thing, to be able to have money to buy the things. That's also bullshitake. Life, asked Steve Jobs before he died, what is the most important thing? And many, many, many people who have fame and fortune say that that is the biggest BS, that if they could change anything, it would have been to really enjoy life with respect to their relationships with other people, with actually enjoying the things that they used the money to buy. I just really, really, really am adamant that the more I can appreciate my little car, my place on the beach, all those things, that the money that I make doing things that I love 88% of the time, I really, really appreciate them. And that, my friends, is happiness. That is having what you want and wanting what you have. So I appreciate my ability to live that 88% of the time, even though my show's called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. And that's who you're tuned into. That's it for having breakfast with me this morning on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. Thanks for joining me for breakfast. I promise you that if you practice this good life habit for the next 28 consecutive days, with or without me on the air on the show, or with yourself, if you're doing other things, you will come out of this good life habit, #Blisscipline, feeling better about life, better about yourself. And that is the Dr. Marissa guarantee on good life habit of taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. We'll be back with more on the show about hope and happiness. Don't go away. We have to pause for station ID, also news, weather, and traffic on my NBC News Radio, KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Chuck Woolery used to say, I'll be back in 2 and 2. I say, peace in, peace out. We'll be right back.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my Show Central, 1,162 podcast shows, but who's counting? And 653 consecutive weeks on the air. So glad that you're here with me. I got a nice compliment from someone that I met over the weekend who said, I've been listening to you for years. I can't come to the show live because of my job, but on the way home, I just pull up your podcast on YouTube and listen to it while I drive. And I'm glad you're listening to it instead of watching. But my YouTube TV channel does offer the ability to see myself and my guests and my co-hosts. So I would strongly encourage you to free subscribe. And that way you'll get an alert every weekday morning to offer you a way to look at life that feels good. And I see eyeballs coming in. Welcome to the show. We're talking about how to stay sane through this election season. It is Mental Health Matters Mondays, and today in particular. Tomorrow we get to vote. And so today is probably going to be the most stressful day if you are voting in a way that is not helping your relationships. I have been approached many times with people like, how do I deal with my parents, with my sisters, with my best friend, with my friends? I've had to unfriend them. I've had to stop talking to them because they are so wrong. They're so caught up in the rhetoric of whatever side it is. And certainly, I don't have a TV, haven't had one for 10 years, and I'm really grateful that I don't have to have all of those negative ads up that are just 24/7 now, people accusing other people of all the negative things. And my advice right now, and my first and foremost advice is please go vote. There's nothing worse when I hear people complaining about the way our nation is, and then I will say nicely, do you vote? And they say, no, it doesn't make a difference, or no, whatever the reason is. And that is the definition of a crying shame. Because here in our country, we do have the ability to vote. And if you are complaining without voting, you might want to stop complaining because you're not using the one thing that can make a difference, which is your vote. Now, especially now when every vote counts because it is close. All right. Yes, let's put the moose on the table. Our country is divided. Yes, let's put the moose on the table. It is a very stressful time. Yes, let's put the moose on the table. On either side, you can make an argument that you don't want to live here anymore if the other side wins. Let's just wait and see. That's my second piece. So one is vote. Number two, don't go to MSU University, which is making Shitake up, being 10 steps forward. Let's just see where the numbers fall tomorrow, and we will not know probably until Wednesday morning the exact tallies and all of that. And wiggle your fingers that we're not going to have the same issues we had in Florida years ago, or the not accepting of the votes. Let's just pray that doesn't happen. We have a system in place. 98% of it is working. Let's not focus on the 2%. Let's just do our best to put our vote where our belief systems are. And then let's go to the scenario. And the first half of my show, I talk about the reality. And I will, in my own family, in my own bonus family, not everybody agrees with, who should be president. Not everybody agrees about the propositions. Not everybody agrees on all those things. And if we talk about it, we will quickly get to a place where we start making personality accusations or judgments, or we extrapolate. And I hear things like, how can you even think that, and then fill in the blank? How can you not see that this is a step backwards? How can you not see that this is continuing a trend that's going to end up in chaos? How can you not see that you are going backwards? You've got to be stupid to think that. You've got to be crazy to think that. You've got to be an idiot to think that. And this is on both sides. I've heard this for both ends. So if that's your reality, my next tip is don't get into the argument in the first place. Don't poke the animal. Don't pick up the rope. You cannot have a tug of war if you do not pick up the rope. And there will be people that say to me, but Dr. Marissa, they have to see what they're doing. They have to understand the implications of what is going on. And my response to you is, there's the thing called Pygmalion effect. And this happens whichever side you're on. And Pygmalion effect is a psychological phenomena which only happens when you're dealing with human beings. Sarcasm is another service I offer. And it's called, you will, by your very belief system, not allow in data that challenges that belief system. So the argument on actually engaging in a debate, a political debate, a political thinking that you can change someone's mind, that is a pipe dream. Because if they are entrenched, whoever, and you are too, if you are entrenched in your BS, in your own belief system, and let's not say right or wrong, good, bad. It is what it is. You believe that so strongly. You also cannot allow in anything that says anything different than your own belief system. That's the Pygmalion effect. It was studied in the Bay of Pigs. It was studied in so many things, like why it makes common sense. Why wouldn't they have heard the warning signs? And the reason you don't hear warning signs most of the time is because you're so entrenched in knowing that you're right, or knowing that this is what it is, that you cannot allow data in that will persuade you otherwise. So that's why I say, just don't pick up the rope. Because if you are entrenched in your own belief system, and I'm not knocking your belief system, whatever it is, to have a conversation or a debate with someone where you're just saying, but it's common sense. One, common sense is uncommon. And two, your common sense is as strong as their belief in their own common sense, right or wrong, good or bad, no matter what category it is in. So then I would ask you, is the relationship more important than this BS, or is this BS more important than the relationship? And I would propose that a relationship is, especially if it's a family relationship, and let's say on every other topic, you are, you love that person. they've been there for you. They have demonstrated that they're a good, caring person, except on this one thing, then I would say the relationship is more important. And I have a co-host like that who is voting against what I am adamant is what I think is going to be a better solution for our country. I have an opinion, and his opinion is completely opposite. And if you would have told me that I would have had a co-host on my show that actually believed and supported someone that I don't respect and don't want to be president, I would have said you're crazy. But what I have learned is that both on politics and religion, that if we can't learn how to place our love and peace and respect above our opinions, which are important and strong, but if we can't agree to disagree, if we can't allow for diversity in thought, then we're in trouble, because then we're going to get to that place of where a lot of countries are, which is ethnic cleansing. I don't want ethnic cleansing. I don't want religious cleansing. I don't want a world where if you don't believe like me, I'm going to kill you. Well, we're not there yet. But the way that our momentum is going, where we unfriend and then disparage and then have hate talk and then hate talk into hate activity, we're headed there. So for me, it's so important. And that's why he's a co-host on my show, is we're an example of how our relationship with each other and our love and respect for each other transcends the politics. So that's the huge. I'm entreating you all that are listening now or later that even if you really believe that the opposite side is a horrific side, and anyone who believes that is an idiot or horrible themselves, to just take a breath and get up to 88,000 feet and ask yourself this question. That same hate that you're spouting is related to the same hate that leads to killing people who don't think like you do. Do you really want that? I know that's putting the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of talking about the elephant in the room. But I really know that it is my job to talk about not either side, but to talk about the importance of being able to live in peace with those who are diametrically opposed to your thought. Because that's why bipartisan is one of my favorite words. Those things that we all agree on. We all don't want gun violence. We all don't want homelessness on the street. We all don't want people being trafficked. We all don't want people being addicted to drugs. We have that in common. If that is our focus, let's look for the solutions that aren't one camp or the other. Let's look for the solutions that will and have been demonstrated by organizations that are bipartisan. I just had one on. Sandy Hook Promise has specifically made it a point to not get involved in either side. They want the solutions that are what we can all do. And I'm so grateful that I had the founder on the show. If you missed that interview, go and find it and listen to it. It's on my YouTube channel. Just put in Sandy Hook Promise and Dr. Marissa, and you'll find it and listen to it. It's chocked full of solution that is bipartisan. So don't get me wrong. I have an opinion. There's a part of me that really wants to use this platform and say, go vote this way on all the props, go vote this way, on all the representatives, so that we do not have that in as president. There's a part of me that really, really wants to do that, because I have strong opinions, but I am purposely not doing that because it's more important. I believe it's more important for us to live in a country that has some diversity in thought, and that diversity, I taught this at UCLA. Diverse groups have better creative solutions to problems than homogenous groups. So as difficult as the conflict is, as uncomfortable and stressful as this time is, the good news is diversity will help us come up with the best creative solution. We don't want a dictatorship. We don't want only one thought to prevail. So in that, we have to learn how to be okay, even when it doesn't make sense to us, even when it just hits at our core, even though we want to call names. And I'm guilty of that too. That's why the show is called Take My Advice. I'm not using it, but most of the time, in particular right now. So how do you put this into practice? When you know a family member doesn't believe as you do, when you know that a friend does not believe as you do, instead of unfriending them, don't read their posts. The co-host I was talking about, some of them I just swipe. I don't have to go through the ones that I like. Doesn't mean that I agree. It doesn't, when you have a relationship with people, it's boring if they're exactly like you. I know you think, well, I'll put the caveat, I am dating. And that is one of the questions that I ask right away, because I don't want to have to argue when I'm at home. I do want more agreement than not in my personal one intimate romantic relationship. So for those of you that might be listening, who have gone on one date with me or are swiping and see me and see what I say in my opening move, the caveat is, in my personal one-on-one space, I don't want to have to love that difference. But anytime else, especially family, I love my sissies, my bonus sissies. And I know for a fact that not all of them are voting the same way I am. And it's okay, because my relationship with them transcends politics. And I'm hoping that that's something that you are going to embrace, because that will lower your stress level down. That will bring out the love rather than the confusion, frustration, hate, volatility, anger, any of those emotions that really impact us in not a positive way. Okay, so those are 3 tips right there that we went through. When we come back, we're going to keep going on how to stay relatively stress-free during this election period, especially this next 3 days. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining me. This is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, AM 1050, FM 106.5, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, and the station that is number 1 talk, thanks to y'all in the IE. We'll be right back in 2 and 2. Peace in, peace out. Don't go away.
Welcome to Balanced Tai Chi Gong. My name is Dr. Marissa Pei. For the next 28 minutes, we will be slow dancing with the universe in a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time. Just follow the sound of my voice and move with me as I guide you through this ancient wisdom through New Thought practice. As a corporate psychologist, I created this practice in response to my life and those of my clients. We were professional, high achievement-oriented, multitasking control freaks and exhausted. No matter how many successes, it was never enough. That, coupled with a painful life experience, led me on a quest to find another way to live and back to my Chinese roots. If you practice regularly, I can promise you that it will impact all health vortexes, body, mind, spirit, soul. You will be in a place of balance and inner peace the way we were created. 谢谢.
Be my partner, dance with.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, CNBC News Radio, and NBC Sports Radio station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course my YouTube TV channel that houses not only my 1,261 podcast shows, but who's counting, over this past 653 consecutive weeks. It also houses my red carpet playlist. So if you want to hear my interviews with the Temptations, with Halle Berry and John Travolta, Quincy Jones, and more, then free subscribe there and you will get access to all of those, including also the playlists that are all of my shows now that I'm on every single weekday morning. Today is Monday, and rainy days and Mondays always get me up. And up stands for hashtag UP, unlimited possibilities. That's what we talk about on this show. If you're looking for a place that is talking about the headlines right now on the news, this is not the place. You have plenty of places to be depressed about the news that is being shown, because it's almost always, if it bleeds, it leads. But here, I want to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time, specifically in this next today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. There's going to be a lot of stressors with a lot of anxiety with the election that happens, because we are a democratic country and we do get to put our opinions into a vote that do make a difference. So I thought today we would talk about how to manage your own mental health and take responsibility for your stress that you may be feeling because some of your friends, some of your relatives, some of your coworkers may be voting different than you. I will say that I don't believe our country has felt this kind of animosity towards each other since probably the Civil War, because that's all I hear about. And that's why I don't listen to the news and why I swipe past and I'm a giver, not a receiver on social media, because I do not want to pick up the rope and get into an argument that's just going to make me upset, them upset, and it will not make a difference. Before the break, I gave you some tips. One of them being, you're not going to change their mind, so just don't go there. Another tip is, you're locked into Pygmalion effect, which means that they believe as strongly as you do. So calling them names is really not helpful. And two, the way that we are dealing with differences right now, if we're that hating with people who disagree with us, we're on that path. At the very end is, killing people who don't believe as the way you do, which is scary for me, and which is why I don't talk about what I believe here. I know I have the platform to do it, but it's more important to me that we learn how to agree to disagree. Again, what we were able to do and look for bipartisan solutions, because that is what's going to help our country be continued to be great as it has been in valuing that diversity. So before I forget, Asian Oprah giveaway today. Anyone who's tuned in today knows that Mondays is when I give a free audiobook copy of my #1 best-selling book called 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. Thank you very much for #1 Amazon as well as national bestseller, and foreword by my big brother, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, back cover endorsement by Neil Donald Walsh, a New York Times bestselling author of Conversations with God. Part proceeds go to Habitat for Humanity. And I've been continuing on tour with that got sort of messed up with COVID. But I just love the fact that I sold out at the Heaven and Earth Oasis event on Saturday. So if you want a free audiobook copy of the book, my Asian Oprah giveaway is go to my website, which is right here. You can see drmarissa.life and just scroll to the bottom, and there's a fill in, and you can say Asian Oprah giveaway right there on the contact, and just say, I would like a free audiobook, and then I will get that to you. All right. I also played during the break my promo for Balanced Tai Chi Gong, which is a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time, and a donation of 20 at my website will get that to you. It's a download that teaches you some forms that combine Tai Chi, Qigong, and my happiness coaching, which will also keep you stress-free. And that's another tip that I'm going to give you right now. By the way, I do have my own nonprofit. That's why I say donation. It's called 8 Ways to Happiness, and it helps kids, teens, and young adults who have temporarily forgotten their birthright to happiness. So that is something that I offer, and I would love the support on that. So I'm going to give you, for the last part of the show, some other ways to relieve your stress during this time of the election. And in particular, I'm going to teach you some forms, which I used to teach on the beach every week on Saturday. And because of the travel schedule, I had to stop. But with that download, you can know, and this is a huge stress reliever that you don't have to do all 28 minutes. You can just do one form during this time to lower your blood pressure. And why do I want you to be less stressed? Because the longer you are in a heightened stress place, you will develop disease. That is not a hypothesis anymore. That is a 100% studied empirical studies, Mayo Clinic, Harvard Medical School. All of those show that when you are in heightened stress, so if you're going to be in stress for the next 3 days because of the election, you are definitely going to hurt your immune system. And I don't want that. So I'm going to teach you some forms right now in order for you to stay relatively stress-free. So the first thing is, when you are feeling, you know how you feel when you start getting stressed. Usually you're talking to someone, usually your voice is going up, usually you're starting to get angry. The first thing to do is to take a deep breath in through your nose. Release, soft shoulders, soft elbows, soft knees. And you can do this while they are yelling back at you. Take another deep breath in. And releasing all the stories and the drama. This is my 3-breath technology. You've just activated your body and then your mind. 3rd breath in. And releasing, you're activating your chi, eternal energy, the no beginning, no end. And that is the breath of life. And it activates your full energetic spiritual body. And in that 3rd breath, you can smile and say, I really don't want to argue with you. And I will think about what you've said. And if they are family or friends, you can say, I love you. And let's just put our opinions when we vote tomorrow. And then you walk away. So you will not be able to access anything that sounds like that if you haven't breathed. Usually when people start getting upset or excited or passionate, they begin to hold their breath as they're talking. So that's why I break that cycle with the breath. So the first thing, again, is if you feel yourself arguing, but I don't understand how you can even think that and you're not breathing, is, and then soft shoulders, soft elbows, soft knees, physical activation, second breath, mental activation, releasing all the stories and the drama. And then third breath, connecting with that person through chi, eternal energy, remembering that they are your friends, remembering that they are someone you have to work with, remembering that you're a family member, remembering all the things that you do have in common, remembering that they've been there for you, remembering who they really are beyond their politics. And in that moment, you can access your balance-centered self and say, I got to run. I'm late for a meeting. I have to take a call, whatever it is. I have to go take care of my kid. I have to, because that's the other thing. Here's another tip. As you are engaged in the argument with someone who is as passionate as you are about their own BS, their own belief systems, what are you missing and what aren't you doing now? You're probably not doing something that you should be doing or need to be doing or could be doing, right? What aren't you doing? Are you forgetting to do the laundry? Are you forgetting to pick up your kid? Are you forgetting to, what is the cost of engaging in that argument with that person about something that they're not going to change their mind on? What is the consequence of that? So that's another way to sort of get yourself out of it. Okay, so the breathing, once you access your balance-centered self with that breath, you're able to say something nice or say, I gotta go. And that is the most important thing, to manage your own stress. Because frankly, my dear, even if that person were to say, that's a really good point. I never thought about that. You're right. I'm going to change my vote. Come on, folks. If you actually had someone say that to you after you spouted your belief systems, your own BS, I would say you're on drugs. Are you really going to believe that you're that brilliant and that powerful that in one conversation you're going to change that person's mind on how they have been believing for the last year or even month? Come on. So it's kind of like decaffeinated coffee. Why bother trying to engage in that level of stress-inducing activity called trying to talk about politics, argue about politics, convincing someone that their politics are wrong? Step away from the device. That's my final word. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode, learned something, hopefully, about managing your own stress. This is Mental Health Matters Monday. I'm Dr. Marissa. I hope you have the best election ever in your own mind, in your own actions, in your own body. Hopefully, you will not get into those conversations today, tomorrow, or the following day. Try to talk about and focus on things that make you feel good. Unless all this makes you feel good. It's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through, inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. Thanks for joining in.